my name's Tish and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Auto Social UK. At the beginning of this year, I brought you a full review of the 2022 updated Suzuki S-Cross, Suzuki's mid-range SUV. And if you're looking for a full review, then I'll pop it in the details below and also pop it up there as well. Go check it out. However, at the time, I only had the entry-level Motion car, which I have behind me. But since then, I've also had the top-spec Ultra arrive. So I thought, why don't I create another video showing you the exact differences between the two cars? Is the Ultra version worth £5,000 more or £60 a month? Or should you just save your money and go for the Motion spec? So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Okay, so from the outside, these two cars look identical, right? Well, yeah, pretty much, apart from one thing which you'll need a key eye to notice. Pop it in the comments if you've noticed it already. Don't cheat if you've already watched the rest. But they are the same from the outside. They've got the same updated grille, they've both got LED front headlights and fog lights, they've both got rear tinted windows. However, the only difference is, ding ding ding, the alloy wheels. The Ultra version has a slightly different two-tone design. Now, both of these cars having 17-inch alloy wheels as standard is great for the bottom spec car because some entry-level versions of things like the Nissan Qashqai don't even get alloy wheels, they get steel wheels. So these are a pretty good alloy wheel to have on a standard spec car that's around £24,000. However, move over to the Ultra. Now this car is closer to £30,000 and to have 17-inch wheels on this version seems a little bit disappointing. They just look a little bit small for the car. Now you can get some updated versions of both of these alloys. You can go for a slightly darker design or a slightly jazzier design, which are nice, but are still 17 inches. It would have been nice if you could have had 18s, maybe even 19s on this top spec version. So if these cars look almost identical from the outside, what's the extra £5,000 for the Ultra getting you? Well, the main thing is it gets Suzuki's all-grip four-wheel drive system, which actually, as all-wheel drive systems go, is pretty good. Suzuki have been developing it for around 50 years. Yes, okay, the Suzuki S-Cross doesn't have very much ground clearance. You're not going to be going across fields in this car. But if you want the extra reassurance when it's slippery on the floor, when it's icy on the roads, then you should definitely opt for the all-grip system. But don't worry, it's not just about the four-wheel drive system. There's also some nice upgrades on the inside. As discussed in my previous review of the Motion Spec S-Cross, this is a fantastic specification for an entry-level car. I've got heated seats, adaptive cruise control, automatic lights, automatic wipers, dual zone climate control, all things that you'd expect in a much more premium car. The one thing that lets this interior down has got to be this cloth interior. But after all, something's got to give, right? This is a cheap car compared to its rivals. So you don't expect everything to be perfect, and the compromise you make is with the seats. Yes, now this is the upgrade in interior that this car needs. These part leather seats are so much nicer than the cloth. They've even upgraded the inside of these seats and it now feels much more hard wearing. I really like the interior of the Ultra, and of course it gets the extra bonus of that panoramic sliding sunroof. I also love that on this car, when you open up the sunroof, it folds all the way back, bringing in loads of light and loads of fresh air. The only slightly disappointing thing for me personally is the sunroof blind. It just feels a little bit cheap and it lets down the rest of the cabin. At first glance, the screens actually look a very similar size, and that's because the exterior housing is the same. However, inside they're different. In this bottom spec Motion car, it's a 7-inch screen. To be honest, everything functions very well. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, but you will need to plug it in to make it work. Everything's easy to use though. However, if you need a sat-nav, you will need to go for the top spec Ultra. One of my favourite things about the Ultra is actually on startup. So when you first start the engine and the new system kicks in, you first get the Suzuki badge and then you get the 360 spin. I think this is so cool and well worth the upgrade. This system also fills the whole screen. It's 2 inches bigger than on the Motion, and this is actually 9 inches. It's also a brand new system with satellite navigation as standard. But even the home screen is much clearer and crisper and easier to read. You've also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless on this car, which is another first for Suzuki. Another first is that 360-degree camera. Suzuki have always been very good at giving rear view cameras as standard, and the Motion gets both a rear view camera and rear and front parking sensors. However, if you go for the top spec Ultra, you actually get this 360-degree view, which is really nice. The only disappointing thing is even on this top spec model, you've still got analog dials, which is really starting to look a little dated. That panoramic sliding sunroof brings so much light into the back of this cabin. It makes it feel much more comfortable for long drives. The only disappointing thing is it really does eat into a lot of the headroom. If I sit up almost completely straight, I've almost got my head on the ceiling, and I'm only around 5'5", so you definitely have to consider this if you've got tall teenage children that you carry in the back. Legroom, however, is pretty good. Just like in the Ultra, I've got a decent amount of legroom, and I've got slightly more headroom because I don't have that panoramic sunroof. However, because there's no sunroof and these rear tinted glass, even though I've got a light headlining, it's still just a little bit dull back here. It definitely is lovely to have that panoramic roof. I've also got the centre armrest with a couple of cup holders, which is decent for the entry-level car. One of the first things that takes a little while to get used to with the automatic gear stick is when you pull it all the way down, it goes straight into manual rather than straight into drive, which is slightly difficult to get used to. You have to almost do it much slower to make sure you're selecting the right drive mode. It would have been nicer if it had one of the systems that other cars have, where you go straight into drive and then you click it once down to go into manual. It's not very often that I'll opt for a manual gearbox over an automatic unless it's a performance car. However, with the 1.4 litre booster jet Suzuki S-Cross, I feel that the manual gearbox just suits the car better. Even with this automatic gearbox in manual using the paddles, it still hangs on to those gears just a little bit too long, and it makes a lot of noise out of the engine. Things are much smoother in the manual once you're in control. Road noise was not really the S-Cross's strong point anyway. It's not particularly refined and there is quite a lot of road noise. However, in the Ultra with this panoramic sunroof, it is then increased further. Of course, most of the time when you've got your music on or people in the car, you're not going to notice this, but it is quite obvious when I'm on my own and I'm filming. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to test out the S-Cross's 4x4 capabilities. After all, let's face it, this wasn't designed to be going off-roading on muddy tracks. It really is just there to give you more confidence when driving in UK weather conditions, which is always a plus. You've got the 3 different driving modes. You've got a sport, a normal, a snow, and then you also have a 4th, which is a lock. Despite not a lot of people using the 4-wheel drive system really for what it's designed for, it does give you that extra confidence, and it is nice to know that even if it's icy or snowing outside, you can have confidence in your car, especially if this is your family car. So opting for the Ultra is brilliant, but after all, the 2-wheel drive Motion, there's nothing wrong with it. It still drives very nicely, and for most people it will be absolutely adequate. The really good thing is even the Motion spec car gets all of the safety equipment as standard. Adaptive cruise control, which I love. I don't really like standard cruise control. I prefer adaptive. I think it makes a lot more sense, especially with how busy the roads are. And both cars get that. Both cars get anti-collision avoidance. They also get lane assist, start-stop technology. All of the safety equipment that you would need in a modern day car is in here, and it's on both the entry-level Motion and this top spec Ultra. Because of the added weight that comes with the four-wheel drive system, the Ultra model does have a slightly slower 0 to 62 time of 10.2 seconds, compared to the Motion's 9.5. For the same reasons, the two-wheel drive car is slightly more economical, with a combined fuel consumption of just over 50 miles per gallon, while the all-grip version falls just under 50. So there you have it. For around £5,000 more, you get a sliding panoramic sunroof, part leather interior, an all-wheel drive system, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, satellite navigation, and an upgraded infotainment system. That seems pretty good value for money for me. But what do you think? Do you think it's worth it, or would you just stick with the Motion spec car? After all, for £24,000, to get all of that included, which you do, is pretty good. Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a massive thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, then hit that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.